Marcus Webb stood at the viewing window of Station Nexus 7, watching ships from dozens of different worlds dock at the massive space station. As head of security, he had seen many strange things during his 5 years here. But nothing had prepared him for what was about to happen. The station buzzed with normal activity. Traders from the crystal world of Etheria moved their glowing cargo containers. The insect-like hive workers clicked and hummed as they repaired damaged ship hulls. Green-skinned merchants from the farming worlds sold their fresh produce to hungry travelers. Marcus checked his watch. Almost time for his shift to end. He looked forward to a quiet evening in his quarters with a good book and some real earth coffee. The peaceful moment was interrupted by his communication device beeping urgently. "Chief, Webb to the main conference room immediately," came the voice of Station Commander Davis. The tone suggested this was not a routine matter. Marcus made his way through the busy corridors of the station. Alien voices mixed with human speech in the universal language that everyone used for trade and communication. The smell of cooking food from 100 different worlds filled the air. When he reached the conference room, Marcus stopped in surprise. Standing near the large table was a creature he had only seen in security briefings and warning videos. A Valthari warrior stood nearly 8 feet tall, covered in dark fur with silver markings. Its wolf-like head turned toward him, showing teeth that could easily tear through metal. The Valthari were known throughout the galaxy as the most dangerous predators in space. They hunted in packs and showed no mercy to their enemies. Their homeworld was a death trap for any other species. Even the bravest space marines avoided fighting them when possible. Commander Davis, a short woman with gray hair, gestured for Marcus to sit down. "Chief Webb, I would like you to meet Prime Hunter Caveth of the Valthari Dominion." The massive alien stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice was deep and rough like grinding stone. "Human Marcus Webb, we have heard of your reputation as a protector." Marcus tried to hide his nervousness. "Thank you, Prime Hunter. How can Station Nexus 7 help your people?" What happened next shocked everyone in the room. The fearsome predator sat down, making itself smaller and less threatening. Its yellow eyes looked directly at Marcus. "We wish to hire human guards," Caveth said slowly, "to protect our young during the spawning season." The room fell silent. Marcus felt his mouth drop open. Commander Davis looked equally stunned. The request made no sense. The Valthari trusted no one, especially not with their children. "I am sorry," Marcus said carefully. "I think I misunderstood. You want humans to guard your offspring?" "That is correct," Caveth replied. "We have studied your species for many cycles. Humans possess something we need, something no other race in the galaxy has." Before Marcus could ask what that something was, the conference room door opened. 3 more aliens entered. The first was an Etherian, a tall crystal being that glowed with soft blue light. Its name was Resonance of Truth. The second was a hive mind representative, an insect creature with 4 arms and compound eyes. The third alien looked like a walking tree with many branches for arms. "This is madness," Resonance of Truth said, its voice like singing crystal. "The Valthari have never trusted outsiders with their young. Why humans? Why now?" The hive mind buzzed angrily. "Humans are weak compared to Valthari warriors. They cannot protect what Valthari cannot protect themselves." Caveth stood up to his full height, towering over everyone. "The hive mind speaks from ignorance. Humans have qualities that even Valthari do not possess." Marcus found his voice. "What qualities are those, Prime Hunter?" The Valthari warrior was quiet for a long moment. "You protect the young of other species as if they were your own. We have seen this in many battles across the galaxy. Human soldiers risk their lives to save alien children they have never met before. All species protect their young," the tree-like alien said, in a voice like wind through leaves. "No," Caveth said firmly. All species protect their own young. Only humans extend this protection to the young of others. We have tested this theory many times. Commander Davis leaned forward. What kind of tests? We have observed humans in combat situations across 17 different conflicts. Every time, when faced with a choice between tactical advantage and protecting non-human civilians, humans chose protection, even when those civilians belonged to enemy species. Marcus remembered some of those situations. During the border wars, his unit had risked their mission to evacuate alien refugees. At the time, it had seemed like the only right thing to do. He had never thought of it as unusual. We need this quality, Kaveth continued. Our birth rates are falling. Too many young die during spawning season because we cannot guard them properly. Adult Valthari must hunt continuously to feed the growing offspring. This leaves the nursery pools undefended. The Etherian's crystal body pulsed with brighter light. You could hire Etherian guards. We are logical and efficient. Etherian logic calculates acceptable losses, Kaveth replied. Some young would die, but the Etherian would consider this normal. We find this unacceptable. The hive mind buzzed louder. Hive workers would guard your young perfectly. We understand the value of protecting the next generation. Hive mind protects workers because they are replaceable parts of the whole. Individual deaths mean nothing. Again, unacceptable. Kaveth turned back to Marcus. Humans see each young life as precious and irreplaceable. This is what we need. Marcus looked around the room. The other aliens clearly disapproved of this plan. Commander Davis seemed uncertain. The whole situation felt impossible. What exactly would this job involve? Marcus asked. 6 human guards would travel to our homeworld. You would establish defenses around our spawning pools. The contract lasts for one spawning cycle, approximately 45 standard days. And the payment? Kaveth reached into a pouch on his belt and placed a small crystal on the table. It glowed with warm golden light. Everyone in the room gasped. Pure energy crystal worth 50 million galactic credits, the Valthari said. Plus, additional payment for each guard who serves faithfully. Marcus stared at the crystal. That amount of money could fund station operations for 2 years. But the risk was enormous. The Valthari homeworld was one of the most dangerous places in known space. I need time to consider this offer and choose my team, Marcus said finally. Time is something we do not have much of, Kaveth replied. The spawning season begins in 12 days. We need your answer within 2 days. The alien visitors left the conference room, but the tension remained. Commander Davis turned to Marcus with worry in her eyes. This could be the most important decision in human history, she said quietly, or it could be a disaster that destroys relations with the most powerful predator species in the galaxy. Marcus nodded, his mind already working through the possibilities. He would need his best people for this job, people he trusted with his life and the lives of others. The weight of responsibility settled on his shoulders like a heavy coat. Outside the conference room windows, the vast galaxy stretched endlessly in all directions. Somewhere out there, alien children waited to be born. And somehow, their survival might depend on the choice one human would make in the next 48 hours. 2 days later, Marcus stood in the docking bay of Station Nexus 7 with his carefully chosen team. The decision had been difficult, but he knew these 4 humans were the best for such a dangerous mission. Jake Morrison checked his equipment bag one final time. The demolitions expert was a tall man with steady hands and calm nerves. He had served with Marcus in 3 different conflicts and never panicked under pressure. His specialty was creating defensive barriers and non-lethal deterrent systems. Lisa. Carter adjusted her medical scanner and xenobiology tools. The young doctor had spent years studying alien life forms and spoke 6 different alien languages. Her blonde hair was tied back in a practical ponytail, and her blue eyes showed both excitement and worry about the mission ahead. Tom Bradley tested his communication equipment. The tech specialist could hack into any computer system and establish communication links across vast distances. His dark skin showed the scars from a previous mission where he had stayed at his post despite being under enemy fire. Rebecca Stone stood silently, checking her weapons and tactical gear. The former Marine had short brown hair and sharp green, eyes that missed nothing. She had led rescue missions on hostile worlds and earned the nickname Shield for her protective instincts. The Valthari ship Bloodfang waited at the docking port. It was unlike any vessel the humans had ever seen. The hull was dark metal covered with sharp spikes and claw-like projections. Strange symbols were carved deep into the surface, and the whole ship seemed designed to intimidate enemies. Prime Hunter Kaveth emerged from the ship's entrance. Behind him came 3 more Valthari warriors, each nearly as large as their leader. Their fur colors ranged from deep black to silver gray, and all of them moved with the deadly grace of natural predators. "Are these the guards you have chosen?" Kaveth asked, studying each human carefully. "My best people," Marcus replied. "Jake Morrison handles explosives and defensive systems. Lisa Carter is our medic and alien biology expert. Tom Bradley manages communications and technology. Rebecca Stone is our tactical specialist." One of the other Valthari, with golden fur and battle scars across his muzzle, stepped forward. "I am War Leader Drakesh. These humans look small and weak. How can they protect what we cannot?" Rebecca Stone met the alien's gaze without flinching. "Size is not everything in a fight, War Leader. Sometimes brains work better than claws." Drakesh showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. "We will see, small human." The boarding process was awkward. The ship had been designed for creatures much larger than humans. The corridors were wide and tall, but the doorways were shaped for beings who moved on 4 legs as well as 2. The walls were covered with trophies from successful hunts, including skulls from creatures the humans did not recognize. Jake whistled softly as they passed a display of weapons. "Those blade spears must be 15 feet long." "Valthari prefer close combat," Lisa observed, taking notes on everything she saw. "Their whole culture seems built around personal strength and hunting skill." The ship's interior was surprisingly clean and organized. Everything had its proper place, and the corridors were wide enough for the large aliens to move freely. Strange. Music played softly through hidden speakers, sounding like wind howling through mountain passes. Their quarters were in a section of the ship that had been modified for smaller species. The rooms were still large by human standards, but the furniture had been adjusted to human size. Each room had a small window showing the stars outside. As the ship departed from Station Nexus 7, Tom set up his communication equipment. "I am establishing a link back to the station. We will send daily reports during the journey." The trip to Valthari Prime would take 8 days through hyperspace. During the first day, the humans stayed mostly in their quarters, unsure how to interact with their alien hosts. The Valthari seemed equally uncertain about having humans aboard their ship. On the second day, Lisa's curiosity overcame her caution. She approached War Leader Drakesh in the ship's common area. "I would like to learn about your spawning process. The better I understand your biology, the better I can help protect your young." Drakesh looked surprised by the direct question. Most species avoided discussing Valthari reproduction, considering it too dangerous a topic. But Lisa's sincere interest seemed to impress him. "Very well, healer human. But you must understand, what I tell you is sacred knowledge. To betray this trust would mean death." Lisa nodded solemnly. "I understand. I take my duties as a protector very seriously." Over the next hour, Drakesh explained the Valthari life cycle. The eggs were laid in special pools filled with mineral-rich water. The developing young absorbed nutrients from both the water and regular food brought by the adults. The spawning season lasted 6 weeks, during which time the eggs were extremely vulnerable. "The young cannot defend themselves for the first month after hatching," Drakesh explained. They are blind and helpless, but they grow quickly if they survive. By the end of spawning season, they are as large as adult humans and can hunt small prey. What threatens them during this time? Lisa asked, taking careful notes. Many things. Predators from the sky and ground, weather storms that can flood the pools, diseases that spread quickly among the young. But the worst threat comes from the Skaran packs. Lisa had heard of the Skaran. They were armor-plated carnivores that competed with the Valthari for territory. How often do they attack spawning grounds? Every season. They know when we are vulnerable. Traditionally, we lose 20 to 30% of each generation to Skaran attacks. The number shocked Lisa. No wonder the Valthari were desperate enough to hire outside help. On the fourth day, Jake approached Prime Hunter Kaveth about defensive strategies. I need to understand how you normally protect the spawning pools. Kaveth led him to the ship's war room, where detailed maps of the spawning grounds were displayed on holographic screens. The layout showed a wide valley surrounded by hills and forests. Dozens of spawning pools were scattered across the valley floor. We post guards at key positions, Kaveth explained, pointing to spots on the map. Each warrior watches a section of the perimeter. When enemies approach, we fight them one-on-one or in small groups. Jake studied the map with growing concern. Your warriors fight individually, even when defending the spawning grounds. That is the Valthari way. Personal honor and strength determine victory. But that leaves gaps in your defense. Enemies can slip through between guard positions. Kaveth's ears flattened against his head, a sign of irritation. Are you saying Valthari tactics are wrong? Jake chose his words carefully. Not wrong, just different from human tactics. We fight as teams, covering each other's weaknesses. On the sixth day, Rebecca began training sessions with some of the younger Valthari warriors. She showed them human combat techniques that emphasized coordination and mutual support. At first, the aliens resisted these methods, preferring their individual fighting style, but Rebecca was persistent. Watch this, she said to a warrior named Thorek. She had Tom and Jake attack her from 2 directions, while Lisa provided covering fire with practice rounds. The 3 humans moved together like parts of a machine. When one person was threatened, the others immediately adjusted their positions to help. When Tom stumbled, Jake was there to cover him. When Rebecca needed to reload, Lisa provided suppressing fire. Thorek watched with growing interest. You fight like a pack, but more organized than any pack I have seen. Exactly, Rebecca said. Humans are naturally social. We protect each other, because that makes the whole group stronger. By the 7th day, word had spread throughout the ship about the human fighting techniques. More Valthari warriors came to watch the training sessions. Some even asked to participate, though their size made it difficult to practice with human partners. Tom established communication with other Valthari ships in their fleet. Through these conversations, he learned that news of the human guards had spread throughout Valthari space. Some supported the decision, believing it was necessary for survival. Others opposed it, thinking it showed weakness to rely on aliens. There is much debate about this decision, Tom reported to Marcus. Some Valthari leaders think Prime Hunter Kaveth has made a mistake. On the 8th day, the ship dropped out of hyperspace near Valthari Prime. The planet was a sphere of brown and green, covered with vast forests and mountain ranges. 3 moons orbited the world, their gravitational pull creating extreme tidal effects on the surface. Beautiful but deadly, Lisa murmured, studying the planet through the observation windows. As they approached the planet's surface, Kaveth joined the humans in the common area. His expression was serious, and his yellow eyes showed concern. We will reach the spawning grounds tomorrow, he announced. I must warn you that not all Valthari will welcome your presence. Some of my people believe this arrangement dishonors our traditions. Marcus nodded. We understand, Prime Hunter. We are here to do a job, not to change your culture. Good, because once we land, there will be no chance to change your minds. The spawning season waits for no one, and our young depend on your success. As the ship descended through the planet's atmosphere, the humans could see the challenges ahead. The surface was covered with dense forests full of dangerous wildlife. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon, promising violent weather. And somewhere, in those dark woods, enemies waited for the chance to attack helpless young. The real test was about to begin. The transport ship touched down at the edge of the spawning valley, just as the first sun rose over the mountains. Marcus stepped out onto Valthari Prime and immediately felt the difference in gravity. Everything felt slightly heavier, making each step require more effort. The air was thick and humid, filled with strange scents from alien plants and animals. In the distance, he could hear the calls of creatures he had never encountered before. Some sounds were musical, like singing birds. Others were harsh growls and roars that made his skin crawl. Lisa stepped beside him, already taking readings, with her scanner. The atmosphere is breathable, but has 30% more oxygen than Earth normal. We might feel dizzy at first. Jake emerged from the ship carrying his equipment cases. This place feels alive. I can practically hear the jungle breathing. The spawning valley spread out before them like a natural amphitheater. The ground sloped gently downward toward a series of terraced pools carved into the living rock. Each pool was roughly circular and filled with crystal-clear water that reflected the morning light. But it was what floated in those pools that took Marcus's breath away. Hundreds of eggs drifted just beneath the surface of the water. Each egg was about the size of a football and glowed with soft bioluminescent patterns. The colors shifted from blue to green to gold in slow, hypnotic waves. The sight was both beautiful and deeply moving. "Amazing," Rebecca whispered, lowering her tactical scanner. "I have never seen anything like this." Tom was already setting up his communication equipment on a flat rock. "The electromagnetic patterns from the eggs are incredible. They are actually communicating with each other while still developing." Prime Hunter Kaveth approached the human team, followed by a dozen Valthari warriors. In the morning light, Marcus could see that several of the aliens carried fresh wounds. Their fur was matted with dried blood, and some limped as they walked. "You have been hunting," Marcus observed. "All night," Kaveth replied. "The young ones are hungry, and they grow fast. We must bring fresh meat every few hours, or they will starve." War leader Drakesh pointed toward the surrounding hills. "The Scaran packs are already gathering. We can smell them in the wind. They know the spawning season has begun." Marcus studied the valley with tactical eyes. The spawning pools were scattered across nearly 2 square miles of open ground. Hills and dense forests surrounded the entire area, providing countless hiding spots for potential attackers. A small stream ran through the center of the valley, feeding the pools with fresh water. "Show me your current defensive positions," Marcus requested. Kaveth led them to several spots around the valley's edge where Valthari warriors had dug fighting positions. Each position was designed for a single defender and offered a clear view of one section of the spawning grounds. Jake examined the positions with growing concern. These positions do not overlap. An enemy could slip between them easily. "Each warrior defends his assigned territory," Drakesh explained. "It is a matter of honor. We do not interfere with another warrior's duty." Rebecca pulled out her tablet and began sketching the valley layout. "From a tactical standpoint, this defensive plan has serious weaknesses. You are spread too thin, and there is no coordination between positions." "Coordination is for the weak," growled an older Valthari with silver fur. "A true warrior needs no help to defeat his enemies." Marcus could see that convincing the Valthari to change their tactics would be difficult. Their entire culture was built around individual strength and personal honor, but he also knew that their current approach was failing, which was why they had hired human guards. "We respect your traditions," Marcus said diplomatically, "but perhaps we could try a different approach for this spawning season, as an experiment." Kaveth considered this for a moment. "What do you propose?" Marcus gestured toward the valley. "Let us establish our own defensive network. We will work alongside your warriors, not replace them. If our methods prove successful, perhaps some of your people might be interested in learning them." After much discussion, Kaveth agreed to let the humans implement their defensive strategy. The Valthari would maintain their traditional positions, while the humans would fill in the gaps with their own methods. Jake immediately began surveying the area for the best locations to place early warning sensors. "I need to create overlapping fields of detection. Nothing should be able to approach the spawning pools without us knowing about it." Lisa established her medical station near the center of the valley, close to the largest group of spawning pools. From there, she could reach any injured defender quickly. She also began studying the eggs more closely, learning about their development cycle and health needs. "The eggs are in different stages of development," she reported over their communication system. "Some will hatch within days, while others need several more weeks. The newly hatched ones will be the most vulnerable." Tom set up a communication network that connected all the human positions with the Valthari guard posts. For the first time, the defenders would be able to coordinate their responses to threats. Rebecca began establishing firing positions that provided overlapping coverage of the entire valley. Unlike the Valthari positions that were designed for single warriors, her positions could support multiple defenders working together. The first test of their preparations came sooner than expected. On their second day at the spawning grounds, Tom's sensors detected movement in the northern forest. A pack of 6 creatures emerged from the tree line, moving toward the spawning pools with predatory grace. These were not Scaran, but smaller predators that the Valthari called shadow runners. They were roughly the size of large dogs with dark fur that made them almost invisible in low light. Their strategy was to attack in quick raids, grabbing eggs before the defenders could react. The traditional Valthari response would have been for the nearest warrior to charge out and engage the shadow runners in single combat. This usually resulted in the warrior killing most of the attackers, but not before 1 or 2 creatures managed to steal eggs. Instead, Marcus coordinated a different response. "Tom, guide them into the kill zone between positions 7 and 9. Jake, activate the sound barriers to channel their approach. Rebecca, you and the warriors at positions 7 and 9 prepare for coordinated fire." The shadow runners moved exactly as Marcus had predicted. The sound barriers funneled them into a narrow approach route where multiple defenders could engage them simultaneously. The creatures never had a chance to reach the spawning pools. War leader Drakesh observed the entire engagement from his position on the hillside. When it was over, he approached Marcus with what might have been respect in his yellow eyes. "Impressive," Drakesh admitted. "No eggs were lost and no warrior was injured. Your pack tactics are effective." But Marcus knew this had been a minor test. The real challenges were yet to come. Over the next several days, the human Valthari defensive system faced increasingly difficult attacks. A flock of flying predators tried to strike from above, only to be caught in Tom's aerial sensor network and driven off by coordinated ground fire. A group of burrowing creatures attempted to tunnel under the spawning pools, but triggered Jake's underground detection grid. Each successful defense impressed more of the Valthari warriors. Some began asking questions about human tactics. A few even requested permission to train with Rebecca's coordinated fighting methods. Lisa made an important discovery while studying the eggs. "The bioluminescent patterns are not random," she announced during one evening briefing. "The eggs are actually sharing information about threats and environmental conditions. They are trying to help their parents protect them." This revelation amazed the Valthari. They had never realized that their developing young were actively participating in their own defense. As the first week passed, it became clear that the human defensive methods were working better than anyone had expected. Not a single egg had been lost to predator attacks, and several Valthari warriors had been saved from injury by the coordinated response system. But Marcus knew they were still facing relatively small threats. Intelligence reports suggested that the Scarran packs were gathering in larger numbers than usual. The real test would come when these apex predators decided to make their move. The spawning valley had become a fortress, protected by a combination of human technology and Valthari strength. But in the dark forests surrounding them, ancient enemies prepared for the greatest challenge the spawning grounds had ever faced. The peaceful days were numbered, and everyone knew it. 2 weeks into the spawning season, Marcus sat by one of the larger pools during the quiet hours before dawn. The eggs glowed softly beneath the water's surface, their patterns shifting like living galaxies. Some of the earliest eggs were beginning to show movement inside, indicating the young Valthari would hatch soon. War leader Drakish approached silently, his massive form moving with surprising grace. The old warrior had become more friendly toward the humans as their defensive methods proved successful. He sat down beside Marcus, a gesture that would have been impossible when they first arrived. "You watch the young ones often," Drakesh observed. "Why do you care so much about offspring that are not your own species?" Marcus considered the question carefully. It was something he had been thinking about himself. "I am not sure I can explain it properly. When I see something helpless that needs protection, I feel responsible somehow. Even when those young will grow up to be predators that could kill you? Yes, even then. Every child deserves a chance to live and grow, regardless of what species they belong to." Drakesh was quiet for a long moment, watching the glowing eggs. "This is why Prime Hunter Kaveth chose humans. We have observed your species in many conflicts. Across the galaxy, always you do the same thing. What do you mean?" During the Centauri border wars, human soldiers abandoned their strategic positions to evacuate alien civilian camps. During the Crystal Nebula conflict, a human medical unit stayed behind enemy lines to treat wounded aliens from 3 different species. Even species that were fighting against humans. Marcus remembered reading about those incidents in military history classes. At the time, they had seemed like obvious moral choices. Any decent person would have done the same thing. "No," Drakesh said firmly. "We tested this theory. The crystal beings calculate acceptable losses and would leave some to die for the greater good. The insect collectives see individuals as replaceable parts of the whole. Even other predator species prioritize their own survival above protecting alien young." This revelation surprised Marcus. "You tested other species? For many cycles, we have been searching for beings who could guard our young when we cannot. We created situations to observe how different species react when faced with protecting alien offspring versus their own interests." Drakesh pulled out a small device and activated a holographic display. It showed various alien species in different scenarios. Marcus watched as crystal beings coldly calculated which young to save based on mathematical formulas. He saw insect workers abandon alien children when it conflicted with hive objectives. "Every species we tested failed in the same way," Drakesh continued. "They put their own needs first. Only humans consistently chose to protect alien young, even at personal cost." The hologram changed to show human soldiers during various conflicts. Marcus watched a human medic risk her life to save injured alien civilians. He saw Marines form a protective circle around alien refugees while under heavy fire. In every case, the humans put the safety of vulnerable aliens ahead of their own mission objectives. "But why?" Marcus asked. "What makes humans different?" "We believe it comes from your evolution," Drakesh replied. "Humans developed in small tribes where cooperation and protection of the group's young was essential for survival. But unlike most species, humans extended this protection instinct beyond their own kind." Lisa Carter's voice came over the communication system, interrupting their conversation. Marcus, you need to see this. I have made an important discovery about the eggs. Marcus and Drakesh made their way to Lisa's medical station, where she had been studying the developing Valthari young. Her excitement was obvious as she showed them her latest scans. The eggs are not just communicating with each other, Lisa explained. They are also responding to the emotional states of their guardians. Watch this. She activated a scanner that showed the bioluminescent patterns of nearby eggs. The patterns were calm and steady, pulsing in gentle waves of blue and green light. Now watch what happens when I simulate a threat situation, Lisa said. She activated an alarm sound that mimicked the cry of a Scaran predator. Immediately, the egg patterns changed. The colors shifted to urgent reds and yellows, and the pulsing became rapid and erratic. But something else happened that amazed everyone. Watching. The eggs closest to Marcus began pulsing in a different pattern. Their colors remained calm blues and greens even though the alarm was still sounding. The eggs near you are not showing stress, Lisa observed. They sense your protective intentions and feel safe. Drakesh stared at the scanner readings in wonder. In all our history, we have never seen eggs remain calm during threat situations. They always panic when predators are near. It gets more interesting, Lisa continued. She moved the scanner to show eggs near some of the Valthari warriors. These eggs showed mixed patterns, some calm and some stressed. The eggs can sense the difference between protectors and hunters, she explained. They respond differently to beings who intend to guard them versus those who might see them as prey. Jake Morrison arrived at the medical station, drawn by the excited voices over the communication system. What is all the excitement about? Lisa quickly explained her discovery. Jake whistled softly as he watched the egg patterns on the scanner. So the little ones can actually tell who they can trust, Jake said. That is incredible. Tom Bradley's voice crackled over the communication system from his monitoring post. I am picking up some interesting data from the Valthari communication networks. Word about our success here is spreading to other colonies. Marcus activated his communicator. What kind of word, Tom? Multiple Valthari settlements are requesting human guard services for their spawning seasons. And it is not just Valthari. I am intercepting communications from at least 6 other predator species asking about hiring human protectors. The implications of this news hit everyone at the same time. If word was spreading that humans could successfully protect alien young, it would change everything about humanity's role in the galaxy. Rebecca Stone jogged up to the group, slightly out of breath. Sorry to interrupt, but we have visitors approaching from the south. A delegation of Valthari elders is coming to observe our methods. Through her binoculars, Rebecca pointed toward a group of older Valthari making their way down the hillside. These were clearly important individuals, judging by the elaborate markings on their fur and the respectful way the younger warriors treated them. Prime Hunter Kaveth met the delegation at the edge of the spawning grounds. The conversation was conducted in the formal Valthari language, which Marcus could not understand. But the gestures and body language suggested this was a serious discussion. After nearly an hour, Kaveth approached the human team with the visiting elders. The oldest among them was a massive female with silver fur and scars that spoke of countless battles. This is Elder Matriarch Vextara, Kaveth announced. She leads the council of all Valthari clans. She has come to see if the stories about human guardians are true. Elder Vextara studied each human carefully with ancient yellow eyes. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of centuries. We have heard impossible claims, she said in heavily accented galactic common, that humans can protect our young better than we can protect them ourselves, that eggs remain calm in human presence, that no offspring have been lost under human guard. The claims are true, Elder, Marcus replied respectfully, but we work together with your warriors. We do not replace them. Show me, Vextara commanded. Lisa led the elder to her scanner and demonstrated how the eggs responded to different guardians. The matriarch watched in amazement as eggs near humans remained calm, while those near unfamiliar Valthari showed stress responses. "Impossible," one of the other elders whispered. "Eggs have never shown such trust in alien beings." Elder Vexitara was quiet for a long time, studying the scanner readings and observing the human team at work. Finally, she turned to Prime Hunter Kaveth. "If this spawning season is successful, if no young are lost under human protection, then we must consider a proposal that will change our society forever." "What proposal, Elder?" Kaveth asked. "A permanent alliance with humanity, not just for spawning season protection, but for the future of our species. Humans possess something we need for survival, something no other species in the galaxy has." Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle even heavier on his shoulders. The success of this mission was becoming about more than just protecting Valthari eggs. It was about establishing humanity's role as protectors in a dangerous galaxy. As the delegation prepared to leave, Elder Vexitara approached Marcus one final time. "Human Marcus Webb, the next few weeks will determine the fate of both our species. Guard our young well, and we will be forever in your debt." After the elders departed, the spawning grounds seemed quieter than before. But Marcus knew this calm would not last. The most dangerous part of the spawning season was still ahead, and now the stakes were higher than ever. The bond between humans and Valthari was growing stronger, but it would soon face its greatest test. The third week of spawning season brought the first major hatchings. Marcus watched in wonder as tiny Valthari emerged from their glowing shells, already the size of house cats, but with the same fierce yellow eyes as their parents. The newborns were blind and helpless, depending completely on their guardians for survival. Lisa worked tirelessly to ensure the newly hatched young received proper care. She had learned to prepare the special food mixtures they needed and help the adult. Valthari established feeding schedules. The young ones grew with incredible speed, doubling in size every few days. "They are so vulnerable right now," Lisa said, watching a group of newborns huddled together near the warmth of their spawning pool. "No wonder the Scaran target this time period for their attacks." As if summoned by her words, Tom's voice crackled, urgently over the communication system. "All stations, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are picking up massive movement in the northern forests. Something big is coming." Marcus rushed to Tom's monitoring station, where multiple screens showed data from sensors placed throughout the surrounding area. The readings were unlike anything they had seen before. "How many?" Marcus asked, studying the display patterns. "I am counting at least 200 individual signatures, possibly more. They are moving in coordinated groups from multiple directions." Tom's voice was tense with worry. Jake arrived at the station, breathing hard from his run across the valley. "I just checked the perimeter sensors. Whatever is coming, it is much larger than anything we have faced before." Rebecca's voice came over the radio from her observation post. "Visual confirmation on the northern ridge. Scaran pack leaders conducting reconnaissance. This is not a raid, people. This is a full assault." Prime Hunter Kaveth bounded across the valley with several of his warriors, arriving at the monitoring station with urgency written across his features. "The great hunt begins. Every 7 cycles, the Scaran gather all their packs for one massive attack on our spawning grounds." "Why did you not tell us about this?" Marcus demanded. "Because it has never mattered before," War Leader Drakesh replied grimly. "We always lose at least half our young during the great hunt. It is the price of survival on this world." Marcus felt his blood run cold. Half the young ones they had been protecting would die in the coming battle. The tiny, helpless creatures he had grown to care about would be slaughtered by the Scaran packs. "Not this time," Marcus said firmly. "We have new tactics and better coordination. We can beat them." Drakesh shook his massive head. "You do not understand, human. The great hunt is not like the small raids we have faced. 200 Scaran Warriors attacking from all directions with no retreat and no mercy. Even your pack tactics cannot stop such numbers. But Marcus was already forming a plan. Tom, show me the approach routes. Jake, I need a full inventory of all defensive equipment. Rebecca, gather the Valthari warriors for a tactical briefing. Lisa, prepare emergency medical stations at multiple locations. The next few hours were a whirlwind of preparation. Marcus implemented a defensive strategy unlike anything the Valthari had ever attempted. Instead of stationary positions defending fixed areas, he created a flexible defense that could adapt to changing threats. Jake worked frantically to set up additional deterrent devices and motion sensors. I am creating choke points at every major approach route. The Skyran will have to funnel through specific areas where we can concentrate our fire. Rebecca organized the Valthari warriors into coordinated teams, each supporting the others in overlapping defensive zones. Many of the aliens struggled with the concept of group tactics, but the younger warriors who had trained with her adapted quickly. Remember, Rebecca told them, when one of your team is threatened, you all respond immediately. No one fights alone. Lisa established multiple aid stations throughout the valley, each stocked with medical supplies for both humans and Valthari. She also prepared emergency evacuation routes in case they needed to move the most vulnerable young ones to safety. Tom expanded the communication network to provide real-time coordination between all defensive positions. Everyone will know exactly where the threats are and how to respond. No more fighting blind. As night fell, the Skyran made their move. The attack began with a massive roar that echoed across the entire valley. 200 Skyran warriors emerged. From the forests simultaneously, their armor plates gleaming in the moonlight. Each creature was roughly the size of a grizzly bear, covered in natural armor that could deflect most weapons. Here they come, Rebecca announced over the communication system. All units, execute Plan Alpha. The first wave of Skyran charged toward the spawning pools, expecting to face the traditional Valthari defense of individual warriors in fixed positions. Instead, they ran into Jake's carefully prepared obstacles and deterrent devices. Sound. Barriers channeled the attackers into narrow corridors where multiple defenders could engage them. Motion-activated lights blinded the Skyran who depended on night vision for their attacks. Non-lethal shock devices slowed their advance and disrupted their coordination. Northern Approach Group is being channeled into Kill Zone 7, Tom reported. Defenders in positions 4, 5, and 6, prepare for coordinated fire. The Valthari warriors who had trained with Rebecca responded perfectly. Instead of charging out to meet the enemy in single combat, they maintained their positions and provided supporting fire for their teammates. The result was devastating for the attacking Skyran, but the sheer number of attackers began to tell. Even with perfect coordination, the defenders were outnumbered 4-1. Skyran broke through the outer perimeter in several locations, forcing the defenders to fall back to secondary positions. Eastern perimeter is failing, Rebecca reported. I am moving to reinforce. Negative, Marcus replied. Stick to the plan. Fall back to position Echo and regroup there. This was the critical test of human versus Valthari tactical thinking. Traditional Valthari warriors would have charged forward to help their comrades, leaving their own positions undefended. But the human-trained defenders maintained discipline and fell back in an organized manner. The battle raged for hours. Wave after wave of Skyran threw themselves at the defensive positions, only to be met by coordinated resistance that they could not break. The alien attackers had never faced such organized opposition before. But then, disaster struck. A group of newly hatched Valthari young, frightened by the sounds of battle, wandered away from their protected pools. They stumbled into an area where the defensive line had been breached directly into the path of a Skyran hunting pack. Lisa saw them first. Young ones in the open, Sector 12. They are heading straight for the enemy. Without hesitation, Rebecca dropped her weapon and sprinted toward the vulnerable young. covering Lisa's position, moving to intercept. Marcus watched in horror as Rebecca threw herself between the helpless young Valthari and the charging Scarran. She had no chance of winning a direct fight against armored predators, but she did not hesitate. Jake saw what was happening and made his own split-second decision. He triggered a massive explosion that brought down part of the hillside, creating a barrier between the Scarran and the young ones. The blast also trapped him on the wrong side of the defensive line. Jake is cut off, Tom reported. He is alone, with at least 12 Scarran. Lisa abandoned her medical station and ran toward the isolated young ones, determined to reach them before the Scarran could regroup. She grabbed the frightened creatures and began carrying them toward safety, one by one. The sight of humans risking their lives to save alien young had an unexpected effect on the Valthari defenders. War leader Drakesh let out a battle roar unlike anything the humans had ever heard. The old warrior charged from his position, abandoning all tactical discipline to help the humans protect the young. "For the Guardians!" Drakesh bellowed in the Valthari language. "For those who protect our future." The cry was taken up by other Valthari warriors throughout the valley. Suddenly, the rigid defensive plan was abandoned as dozens of Valthari charged forward to help the humans who were sacrificing themselves for alien young. But instead of chaos, something amazing happened. The human training had taught the Valthari to work together, and they applied that teamwork to their charge. They moved as a coordinated force, supporting each other and covering their teammates. The combined human-Valthari counterattack caught the Scarran completely off guard. The alien predators had expected individual combat and rigid defensive positions. They were not prepared for coordinated teamwork that combined human tactical thinking with Valthari fighting fury. Within an hour, the great hunt was over. The surviving Scarran fled back into the forests, leaving behind the bodies of nearly half their force. For the first time in recorded history, a great hunt had been completely defeated. More importantly, not a single young Valthari had been lost. As dawn broke over the spawning valley, Marcus found himself surrounded by grateful Valthari warriors, and unharmed alien young. Rebecca was being treated by Lisa for minor injuries, while Jake limped back from his isolated position with a huge grin on his face. "I cannot believe we did it," Tom said, staring at his sensor readings. 0 casualties among the young ones. 3 weeks after the Great Hunt, the spawning season reached its successful conclusion. Marcus stood in the Central Valley watching dozens of young Valthari, now nearly adult-sized, learning to hunt under the guidance of their elders. Every single egg had hatched successfully, and not one young life had been lost. Lisa documented the final health statistics with obvious pride. 100% survival rate during the most dangerous spawning season in Valthari history. I still can hardly believe it. The success had not gone unnoticed throughout the galaxy. Tom's communication station buzzed constantly with messages from alien species across dozens of star systems. Word of the human guardians had spread faster than anyone had expected. "I am getting requests from everywhere," Tom reported during their morning briefing. "The Crystalline Federation wants human guards for their reproduction cycles. The Hive collectives are asking about protection for their queen chambers. Even species I have never heard of are requesting our services." Jake finished packing the last of his defensive equipment, most of which would remain on Valthari Prime for future spawning seasons. "Looks like we started something bigger than just one protection contract." Rebecca reviewed the tactical reports. From the successful defense, already thinking about improvements for future missions. The Valthari warriors who trained with us have requested copies of all our coordination protocols. They want to establish their own version of human-style team tactics. Prime Hunter Kaveth approached the human team as they prepared for departure. Behind him walked Elder Matriarch Vexitara and representatives from 12 other Valthari clans. The formal delegation had arrived to witness the conclusion of the historic spawning season. "Before you depart," Kaveth announced, "the unified Valthari clans have a proposal for humanity. Elder Vextera stepped forward, her ancient eyes bright with hope. What you have accomplished here proves that our species need each other. We propose a permanent alliance between Valthari and humanity. Marcus felt the weight of this moment. The decisions made here would affect the future of both species for generations to come. What kind of alliance, Elder? A guardian pact, Vextara explained. Humans would establish permanent guardian forces to protect Valthari young during spawning seasons. In return, Valthari warriors would serve as protectors for human colonies and settlements. Together, our species would be stronger than either could be alone. The proposal was more generous than Marcus had dared to hope. The Valthari were offering military protection for human settlements in exchange for spawning ground security. It was a partnership based on mutual strength and shared values. But there is more, Cavith added. We have been in contact with other predator species throughout the galaxy. They have seen what humans accomplished here, and they want similar arrangements. Tom activated his communication display, showing a star map dotted with incoming messages. 17 different species have formally requested human guardian services. The apex hunters of Rigel 7, the storm stalkers of the Outer Rim, even the legendary shadow prides of the galactic core. Lisa stared at the display in amazement. If we accept all these contracts, we would be protecting the young of nearly every major predator species in known space. Which brings us to our larger proposal, Elder Vextara continued. We wish to sponsor the creation of a galactic guardian corps, with humans as the primary protectors and Valthari as military support. Together, we would ensure the survival of vulnerable young across all species. The implications were staggering. Humanity would become the galaxy's premier protective force, responsible for safeguarding the future of countless alien civilizations. It was a role that would transform human society and establish their species as essential partners in galactic civilization. Marcus looked at his team, seeing the same mix of excitement and responsibility in their faces that he felt himself. This is a decision that affects all of humanity, not just our team. We will need to bring this proposal to Earth and the colonial governments. We understand, Cavith replied, but we hope you will recommend acceptance. The galaxy needs guardians, and humans are the only species capable of filling that role. Over the next few days, the human team prepared detailed reports for transmission to Earth. The evidence was overwhelming. Human protective instincts made them uniquely qualified to guard alien young, and the galaxy was desperate for such services. Jake compiled tactical data showing how human coordination methods had revolutionized defensive strategies. Traditional alien defenses focus on individual prowess. Human teamwork creates defensive systems that are far more effective against coordinated attacks. Lisa prepared biological studies demonstrating how alien young responded positively to human caretakers. The evidence suggests that human protective instincts are so strong that even developing alien offspring can sense and trust them. This creates a calming effect that improves survival rates. Tom documented the communication networks that had enabled unprecedented coordination between different species during the defense. Human social instincts allow us to bridge communication gaps between species that normally cannot work together effectively. Rebecca analyzed the tactical innovations that had made the defense successful. Human military doctrine emphasizes protecting civilians and non-combatants. This translates perfectly to guarding vulnerable alien young, even during combat situations. As their ship prepared to depart Valthari Prime, Marcus received a final communication from Elder Vextara. The old matriarch had one last gift for the human team. "We have prepared something special for you," she announced, leading them to a ceremony area near the spawning pools. Dozens of young Valthari waited there, the same ones that had been protected during the spawning season. Each young alien approached the humans in turn, touching their hands with small paws in a gesture of gratitude and respect. "They will remember you for their entire lives," Vextara explained. In Valthari culture, those who protect the young during their most vulnerable time become honorary family members. You are now part of our clan, forever. War leader Drakesh presented each human with a crystal pendant carved with Valthari symbols. These mark you as Guardian Clan. Any Valthari throughout the galaxy will recognize your status and offer aid if you need it. The ceremony was deeply moving, but it was what happened next that truly demonstrated the success of their mission. Several young Valthari approached Marcus directly, nuzzling against him like puppies seeking comfort from a parent. They see you as a protector, Kavith observed with wonder. Even though you are a different species, they trust you completely. As the human ship lifted off from Valthari Prime, Marcus looked down at the spawning valley one last time. The pools were empty. Now their precious cargo safely hatched and growing strong. But he knew they would return next season, and the season after that. The journey back to human space was filled with planning and preparation. Messages from Earth confirmed that the colonial governments were extremely interested in the Guardian Corp proposal. The potential for establishing humanity as essential partners in galactic civilization was too important to ignore. "Look at this," Tom said, showing incoming communications from across human space. Colony worlds are volunteering to host Guardian training facilities. Military academies want to establish Guardian specialist programs. Everyone wants to be part of this. Lisa was already designing training protocols for future Guardian missions. "We will need specialists in alien biology, interspecies communication, and protective tactics. This could become humanity's greatest contribution to galactic society." Jake sketched plans for new defensive technologies specifically designed for protecting alien young. Non-lethal deterrence, environmental adaptation systems, communication networks that work across species barriers. The technology applications are endless. Rebecca outlined training programs that would teach human protective instincts to other species. If we can show aliens how to work together the way humans do naturally, we can improve security for vulnerable populations throughout the galaxy. When they finally reached Station Nexus 7, Marcus found the docking bay crowded with representatives from dozens of alien species. Word of their success had spread throughout the station, and everyone wanted to meet the human guardians. Commander Davis greeted them with obvious pride. "Welcome back, heroes. Your mission reports have caused quite a stir in both human and alien space. I think you have started something that will change the galaxy." As Marcus looked around at the diverse crowd of aliens waiting to speak with them, he realized that the title of their story had proven true. This day had indeed revealed why predators rely on humans to guard their offspring, and it was only the beginning. Human protective instincts, evolved over millions of years to care for vulnerable young, had found their perfect expression in the vastness of space. Humanity had discovered its role as the galaxy's guardians, and the future would never be the same. The Galactic Guardian Corps was about to be born, with Earth as its headquarters and humans as its heart. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, vulnerable alien young would sleep safely, knowing that their human guardians were watching over them.